Have you ever felt like you're carrying the emotional weight of, well, your entire family? Today, we're going to talk about what it means to be the family fixer and where that feeling actually comes from. So let's start with a really specific question. Someone you love is stressed out, and all of a sudden, you feel it too. Not just emotionally, but like a real physical weight in your gut or on your shoulders. If you know that feeling, then this is definitely for you. So what is this all about? We're calling it feeling everyone's feelings. It's that unseen burden that comes with being the responsible one. But it's so much more than just being reliable. Let's dig into what's really happening here.
Now, you might think, oh, that's just empathy. And yeah, empathy is part of it, but this goes way beyond just understanding how someone feels. It's different.
See, it's not passive at all. It's this powerful, almost urgent need to jump in and fix whatever is wrong. That little voice in your head kicks in saying, okay, this is a problem and I have to solve it right now.
And what's the result of all that? Well, you end up feeling responsible for everyone else's happiness. Your own sense of peace gets completely tied up with theirs. When they're sad, it feels like you've failed somehow. And that is a huge, invisible weight to carry around.
So the big question is, where does this intense drive to fix everything and everyone actually come from? Because you're definitely not born with it. It turns out, for a lot of us, this whole pattern starts way back in childhood.
There's actually a psychological term for this experience. It's called parentification. And it's basically what happens when the roles get flipped, and a child has to step up and take on the emotional responsibilities that should belong to a parent.
Does any of this sound familiar to you? Maybe you were always the peacemaker, the one breaking up fights. Or maybe you found yourself worrying about adult problems, like money. A huge part of this is learning to hide your own needs, because you figured out really early that someone else's needs had to come first. This quote from researcher E. Mavis Hetherington just hits the nail on the head. For a child in this situation, their main job isn't to be a kid. It's to manage the feelings in the room. Their job becomes making sure everyone else is okay.
Okay, now I know this can all sound a little bit heavy, but here is where we get a really important shift in how we look at this. What if this whole tendency to fix everything isn't actually a flaw in your character? What if it's something totally different? Let's look at this reframe. The myth, the story we tell ourselves is, hey, I'm just a really responsible and self-sufficient person. But the reality, the thing we learned deep down is actually, I learned that my own needs are a burden to other people. This is so important to get. That feeling of hyper-responsibility, that need to always be in charge, that's not just who you are. It's not some fixed part of your personality. What it really is a skill. It's a highly developed coping strategy that you built to get through a tough situation. You got amazing at reading people and solving problems because back then, that's what you had to do to feel safe. So now that we can see this pattern more clearly, what does it all mean for you right now? Well, just recognizing where this comes from is the biggest first step you can take toward changing things. It really all boils down to this one core belief that gets wired in. My own needs make other people tired. If you learned as a kid that asking for what you needed caused stress for others, you just stopped asking. You learned that taking care of everything yourself was just easier for everyone. So let's wrap up with what to remember. First, being the fixer is a learned skill. It is not your identity. Second, that self-sufficiency was a smart strategy that kept you safe. Third, just seeing this is the first step to making a change. And finally, and this is the most important one, your needs are not a burden. And I want to leave you with this one final thought to chew on. If being the fixer is just a very sophisticated coping skill that you learned, just think about what else you could learn to be now.